Hello, everyone. Welcome, and thank you for joining today's webinar on data breaches, prevention, or post-attack panic. Before we start the presentation, a couple of housekeeping rules. Today's webinar, it will be recorded, and the replay of the session will be sent to all of you within 24 to 48 hours after the live event. Also, you are all welcome to submit your questions throughout the Q&A box on the left side of your screen. And Philip will answer as many questions as he can at the conclusion of the presentation. Now, I'd like to introduce our speaker for today. With us, we have Philip Qian. He's our Senior Product Manager of Security at Infoblox. Philip, please go ahead.
Thank you for having me, Namnit. Good morning, good afternoon, everyone. Can you guys hear me okay?
Yeah.
All right. Very glad to have a chance to share with you some information about the recent data breaches and some thoughts regarding prevention instead of panicking after those. Here's a quick look on our agenda. I will start with the background of today's networks, since it is why we have more and more cyber attacks, including data breaches. Then I will talk about the three aspects of our three-step plan, including best practices that we think every enterprise shall have to prevent those cyber attacks. Before we go into Q&A, I will summarize the key takeaways. So let's take a look on some of the things that may be making your life more difficult. From a network perspective and from an environmental perspective, there are all these shifts happening today. In fact, a customer recently said, right now in IT, it's like the industrial revolution of years past. There's that much change going on. You've got more people on the internet, more technologies moving to the internet, like software-defined networking, more devices from BYOD or bring your own devices, and Internet of Things. You've seen attacks driven by things as random as security cameras. Then on top of all these, you've got businesses really pushing on digital transformation for cost reasons or better service to customers. That frankly is, from an IT perspective, making your world a lot more complex. What does that lead to? That is leading to more hacks and ever-evolving threats. There's no doubt that attacks are becoming more prominent and widespread across all types of organizations. You can see some examples here, from Equifax to Yahoo to the Dine attack to Uber hacks that is still in news today. You have got many types of attacks, ranging from physical attacks to data exfiltration, like the Equifax attack. It's ever evolving. In fact, it's almost now getting to the point where it's nearly impossible to keep up with. And it does not appear many organizations have plans in place in case they were hacked. For example, Uber did not appear to have one. For Uber, I was not surprised that they were hacked because they have so many they have a wide attack surface, but I was surprised at the way they handled the incident after they found out they were hacked. They paid $100,000 to the hackers to keep them silent on the attack that exposed 57 million people's data. That action has caused some questions to their management. Maybe it was because there was some panicking in management. As an outsider, I do not really know, but I hope they had at least the same amount of budget to spend on hacking prevention. Data breaches are not small matters. I'm not joking here. To the contrary, they can have a disastrous impact. Take Equifax as an example, as it is still fresh in people's mind. I have their stock chart of last year. You see the cliff in early September. That's when the hacking was reported. Their stock price dropped more than 30% in less than 2 weeks, from more than $140 per share to less than $90 per share. Even though it later recovered somewhat to $110 per share, they still lost $3.6 billion in market cap compared to what they had just 2.5 months ago. Their cybersecurity officers retired, and their CEO also left the company. Now, if I ask them if it was a good idea to spend more budget on hacking prevention, to have better process and technology, and more experienced people to avoid all these, I bet they would agree with me. So, by looking at the slide, you are probably thinking, okay, I get it. You are telling me a cautionary tale. But what should I do? What are your recommendations? At Infoblox, we think about security in 3 aspects. The first is infrastructure protection. Some of your network services, including DNS, have to have 5 nines in terms of availability because they're so critical to your network. Considering that you are doing more and more with cloud-based applications, this has become even more complex because you've got services and information outside of your firewall. You have to protect those critical infrastructure no matter where it is to ensure that an attack will not bring it down. So you need to have visibility into those services, patch those vulnerable network devices, and protect those services. The second aspect is about data protection and malware mitigation. You have to protect your users, your data, whether it's your intellectual property or your customers' credit card information or social security numbers. When you mitigate security incidents due to malware, you have to disrupt the cyber kill chain, and a good place to start is through DNS, because DNS is used by almost all malware at least once in their life cycle. The third aspect is threat containment and operations. Because there are so many different tools, so many threats that are propagating, it's no longer a matter of, I'm going to stop a breach. Now it's more about, how do I respond quickly and effectively? Or, I've got few resources, a lot of tools, a lot of data, such as threat intelligence. How do I get the most value out of those? Ecosystem integration helps by eliminating silos and enable rapid security incident triage. For this presentation, let's focus on 3 key areas: visibility, protecting data, and ecosystem data sharing. Let's take a deeper look at visibility, an important aspect of security. Networks are composed of devices, and we locate those devices by IP addresses. You may have servers and devices with fixed static IP addresses or dynamic IP addresses. Regardless, you have to see every network asset with unmatched clarity. It helps if your system can automatically track multi-vendor infrastructure and hosts and consolidate core network infrastructure into a single comprehensive authoritative database. It also gives you a starting point when you need to investigate potential security incidents. For example, from your DHCP leasing history, you can identify which device connected into your network at a given time. from where you can quickly enforce your security policy on those devices and report in real time about network changes. The second area I want to talk about is data protection. On the slide, let me show you some examples of recent data breaches affecting thousands or even millions of Americans. In order not to have your company's name on this list, it helps to understand what hackers are going after, where they launch their attacks, what methods they use to get in, and what methods they used to get out. In other words, we need to know the details of the hacking campaigns. As Sun Tzu said, know yourself, know your adversary, and you hold the key to victory. On the slide, I've collected some of the details in 4 data breach cases: the Target case and the Sally Beauty Holding case in 2014, the Office of Personnel Management case noticed in 2015, and the Equifax case happened 2 months ago. If we take a look on the table, one thing I notice is that they are similar in some of the aspects, but different in others. The one similar is that the hackers are going after the data, and that includes personal information such as date of birth and financial information such as credit card numbers. The ones different among those cases are the methods hackers used to get into the network and the methods they used to exfiltrate data out of the network. If we take a look on the third column, breach entry point, you can see that there's no fixed breach entry point, and hackers seem to always find a weak spot in our perimeter defense. CISOs or SOC people have a challenge task in their hands, as they have to monitor everything and patch everything, while some of the applications are probably legacy systems that are hard to maintain or owned by other groups, or sometimes there is resistance from inside the organization, such as if it's not broken, why fix it? So there are internal processes you have to set up to make sure best security practices are well followed. For example, if Equifax patched their website, the Apache Struts application, it would be harder for hackers to get in to their network in the first place. If Target had a defense mechanism between their own network and the HVAC contractor's network, maybe they could have avoided the hack. If we take a look on the last column on the right, data exfiltration method, you can also see that there's no fixed exit point, as hackers seem to change their data exfiltration method often. We have to monitor our outbound data traffic, and that was how people discovered the Office of Personnel Management data breach. It was a little late, unfortunately, as the malicious activity had been going on for about a year when it was noticed. From the defense side, we need to plug all the security holes we know of, including those well-known methods like FTP and not well-known methods like DNS. Hackers do their homework before they launch their campaigns. If they see a network that is well protected and hard to get out after they spend so much effort to get in, they probably will look elsewhere. In the particular case of Sally Beauty Holding data breach, the hackers were using a DNS-based malware called Framework POS. If Sally plugged the DNS security hole, they could have made it more difficult for hackers to move the data out. Hackers may know just as much as we do, or even more, about all the possible methods to get in and out, and the security hole left unplugged could be an invitation letter to them. Most enterprises have defense mechanisms in place to protect the data. In the picture, I have data loss prevention solution and network defense with firewall plus SIEM solution. These solutions work well for lots of use cases. However, they also have their weakness in either functionality or it's just too expensive. The DLP solution usually watch your web traffic, email traffic, instant messenger traffic. It also scans the files in CD, DVD, or USB sticks to see if there are sensitive data inside. But DLP solutions don't have visibility into DNS conversation and do not cover DNS. Another popular solution is to use the combination of network firewall and SIEM software. You would set up policies in the firewall to limit access to certain inbound or outbound traffic between your network and the internet. The log data of the firewall then are passed to SIEM software, where they are correlated with logs or raw data from other sources. One of the issues with this solution is cost, as SIEM software charges customers by volume of data ingested. And this solution could be expensive if you use it as a DNS threat detection solution. It's because DNS data is very verbose, and you can have lots of data if you need to look into the DNS query and responses. For a typical organization with 10,000 people, the usual DNS query we make is about 3,000 per second. At that rate, the DNS query and response data generated will be about 78 gigabytes per day. It will translate to about $46,800 per year for SIEM license, just for that portion of data. If your organization has more than 10,000 people, then that price could be even higher. Such a high price tag may leave you very little room to budget for other security solutions. So, while the SIEM vendors always argue that you should put all your data into SIEM, you do need a more cost-effective security solution on DNS. To better explain why those methods I mentioned are not working well in detecting DNS-based threats, let me describe a popular technique called DNS tunneling. Hackers can use this technique to exfiltrate large amount of data through DNS queries without being caught by firewalls. The picture on the right side in this slide shows how they do it. The infected endpoint, which could be your laptop, would fetch some sensitive data from itself or somewhere else in the network. It then issues DNS queries and encode or encrypt those sensitive data as part of DNS queries. The queries are sent to an external DNS server without being detected by firewall because all the queries are legit. At the receiving end, the bad actors customize DNS server, then decrypts or decodes those data. To detect these kind of threats, we have methods using a combination of signature, reputation data, and security analytics. We can compare the DNS traffic with existing signatures, or compare the query targets to non-malicious hosts, or analyze the behavior of the traffic to detect those zero-day attacks, including data exfiltration. Infoblox has a behavior-based threat analytics solution called Threat Insight. It uses patented algorithms with machine learning technology to learn the normal behavior and the malicious behavior, and then use those knowledge to identify the threats that happen in your network in real time. This is because the behavior of malicious queries are very different from normal DNS queries. As I mentioned already, most malware use DNS in their life cycle at least once. So having DNS-based security methods in your defense can give you benefits that are hard to get or too expensive to get with other solutions. The last area I'd like to talk about is security ecosystem and data sharing. Today, since there are so many fronts to defend, we need to construct defense solutions with many products from many vendors. If we do not exchange or share data between the security products, they are like blind men trying to figure out an elephant. Data provides context to prioritize incident responses and remediation. For example, from DNS and DHCP, we can know which device is new to the network, and we can invoke vulnerability scanner to do a quick scan and patch it before malware compromises it. We can also send IP address history as context data into SIMs so that your SIM can have their rules fired when there's a match. All such integrations can increase the overall value of your security defense system to provide defense in depth, as those systems are no longer work in silos. I'd like to provide a little more information on how to leverage threat intelligence across your entire security infrastructure. This includes the ability to bring in threat intelligence from multiple sources, and then have the ability to apply the data across different aspects of your environment. Lots of organizations are utilizing threat intelligence data which came from outside of the organization. One of the challenges with utilizing threat intelligence is learning what it is and how to use it. End users typically want to receive threat intelligence data, but don't know how to create valuable insight from the data. For the end user, receiving raw data feeds from multiple sources does not make the data valuable to use. The end user must be able to know what the data means to the company and if it's something to worry about. The importance of the threat feeds is not only the collection of indicator of compromises that are IP addresses, domain names, but also the actionable content that can help companies make decisions about their security posture. With Infoblox, you can take that threat intelligence and send it to your firewall, SIM, DNS firewall, and other devices. With DNS firewall, a query to a bad domain could be stopped at the DNS query time, which is usually far ahead of the time that actual data packets cross your network. You will also need a tool that gives you the ability to search across all the information that you've now centralized and get to the context around those threats. The dossier tool of Infoblox provides that functionality. This tool can speed up the investigation effort, which saves valuable time of your security analysts. Since there is a worldwide shortage of security talent, saving their time means more than saving money. It means they may actually get to investigate the important stuff, like data breaches. For more information on how to apply threat intel to SIM or web proxy or normal network firewall, I will leave it to another security webinar regarding threat containment and the security operation. With that, just a quick summary of what we've gone through. No enterprise is immune to cyber attacks today. DNS is a control plane that can give you visibility into your network and can also be leveraged to protect you from hackers. Prevention is key to protect your data, and you need to have every known security hole, including DNS, plugged. In addition, when network and security tools work together to form defense in depth, you can optimize your response to threats and protect valuable data. Now, let me see if there's any question. Okay, I got one question about Uber. Do you know if DNS data exfiltration was involved in any way in that breach? Very good question. I haven't seen the report, so I think the investigation is still in progress, so I do not know yet. When we find out the details, I will definitely update the material and the audience. Okay, another question. In addition to DNS tunneling, data exfiltration, are there other common DNS threats out there? Yes, there are. In fact, in the command and control server or botnet situation, they frequently use techniques called DGA and fast flux to communicate from the bot, which is inside your network, to the command and control server, which is outside your network and controlled by the hackers. So the DGA stands for Domain Generation Algorithm. Essentially, it's something that the algorithm will generate domain names, and it looks like gibberish, but it's a legit query. So the bot will issue a legit query, and some of the DGA domains, actually most of the DGA domains are most of the DGA domains do not exist since they are not registered. Only very few of them are registered domains. So the bot will keep issuing those queries to see which ones are registered, and they know the different combinations. So they will basically jump from one domain to another domain. The reason they're doing this is this technique will give the defense side a big problem to handle. Since on the defense side, let's say you have a firewall, and you have to put all those known domains into your blocking list or blacklist in order to block them. And if the bots are using mostly non-existent domains, then it's gonna very quickly flood your blacklist. So you won't have enough capacity to handle those domains. This way, they are basically using the technique to defeat your firewall defense. Fast flux is another technique, and it's similar, but it's on the IP side. So that's the question on, is there any other technique in using DNS other than data exfiltration, DNS tunneling? Okay, I've got another question here. So many application software are not secure enough. Why are they? Can we solve the problem by making them more secure in the first place? I think that's a very good suggestion, and I certainly hope all the software were made secure. But for the industry, every feature comes with a price. And for general software, whether it's CRM or your web application or dating website, the first feature they're going to make is the feature they can sell. So they're going to sell their value proposition. And for most, and if not all software companies, there won't be enough budget to make those features. That's why security features are always an afterthought. And afterthought is after they were hacked. So that's why you see so many software get hacked, and when you check it, you see they are making, they don't have enough security features, and sometimes they make a very rookie mistakes. So that's the answer for that question. Let me see. Oh, some people say I think this is still about Uber attack. Some people, audience say I read it. It was AWS S3. Too many people had admin credential too. Oh, okay. I think I know what you mean. You mean some people, yeah, some startups will put their source code on GitHub. And the source code sometimes contain the test scripts they use to test their application internally. And then those scripts contains the admin credentials because then they don't have to input manually of those credentials every time they run a test. And then when they upload their source code to GitHub, they accidentally made it public. So now hackers have access to those admin credentials. Yeah, that's one of the rookie mistake I mentioned. I think Uber made that mistake once. I'm not sure though if that was the source of the attack that's just reported. Okay, I think I'm seeing the clock at 31 minutes. If there are more questions, please put it in the Q&A box. So I've got a question. What are the most popular applications within the ecosystem currently being used? Most popular. I personally do not manage those applications, so I do not have an exact count on those on the usage. I think the SIM software, for example, Splunk or IBM QRadar or Oxide, are one of the categories that are very popular. And another category would be the vulnerability scanners like Rapid7 and Qualys. And of course, the firewalls and DNS firewalls, those are popular applications in our ecosystem support. Okay, another question. Can this DNS protection be integrated with a secure web gateway, like Umbrella can with OpenDNS? I think a integration with the secure web gateway, we have some integration with McAfee. Integration with other secure web gateways are probably on roadmap, or the engineering, Infoblox engineering are working on it. Those are very good questions. Okay, if there are no other questions, I think we can adjourn today. Thank you for your time. It has been a pleasure to talk with all of you. I hope to see you in other events.